Hey there. So my next guest traces his journey through life and discovers that was music was like the thing that drove him. And as he was finding his path and making music his thing, he realized, he really enjoyed doing voice work, doing audio work. And so now he's doing voice acting, he's working in games, and he absolutely loves it. This was like a truly fun interview. We were cracking jokes, we were having tons of fun, lots of laughs. I know you're all going to love this one. Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Gamerpreneur podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bradford Carlton. Today, I have a very special guest with us. I have Tori Kamal. Hey there, Tori. How's it going?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
It is a beautiful sunny day in Las Vegas. How about you?
Well, it's not as sunny. We're in Minnesota. It's a little bit overcast, but I'm going to pretend like it's just as sunny because that feels like the way it should be.
Hey, I did 9 years in Akron, Ohio, where the sun doesn't even come through. So I understand.
Fair enough.
Okay, so Tori, I don't used to do a lot of small talk on this. I like getting just right into it, learning all about you as we possibly can. So why don't we begin by just telling us a little bit about yourself, please?
Sounds good. So this might be a little bit longer than normal, but there's a point to it. Hopefully there will be at some point. So I was born in Minnesota, Minneapolis. And when I was about in first grade or so, we moved to Bolivia in South America. And I was there from first grade through seventh grade. So I learned Spanish there. As I was going through this stuff, I was like, oh, this sounds like I'm kind of making it up as I go along, but I promise it's true. And when on my 13th birthday, I had to have heart surgery. So we moved back to the US, St. Cloud, still Minnesota. And then so in junior high there, started learning tuba, a little guitar and singing, joined a band. I promise there's a point eventually that we'll get to eventually. Eventually in college, I was like, I knew I wanted to do video games. So I started off computer science. I was pretty young, so I didn't really fully understand what was happening because they're like, we got to learn databases. And I'm like, no, I want to make video games. That was way back in the day. I graduated high school in 96. It gives you a reference of time. So we were using really old languages, like Unity, Epic. That wasn't a thing at the time. So I didn't really get it. All my good grades were coming from music. I was still playing tuba. So I switched over to music theory and composition. Did that for a while, but that split put me at 7 years. I ended up dropping out of college because I was running out of money. I joined another band, was playing lead guitar. We broke up because our bass player moved to New Zealand. But in my day job, I had started doing a few voice commercials. So just like little tags at the end, like, welcome to Subway, get your bet, something like that. So all this stuff was starting to sort of influence what I was going to become. Got married, then joined the IGDA, which is the International Game Developers Association in town here, which was awesome because I was able to network, meet a lot of people. Through the band and then through IGDA, I started doing a lot more audio stuff, little, voice mods and sound effects, stuff like that. Eventually I was like, I really want to try to make this. I want to make this work because I love this stuff. So I went full-time audio for about 9 months, and it didn't quite work out because I didn't quite have the business sense. I was getting just about enough cash to make it work, but I wasn't getting it on time. And credit cards are like, hey, we'd like to be paid, and the banks like to be paid, but it just wasn't rolling in as fast as I needed to. So I went back to work. And I also tried a couple of gigs where I was working as a sound designer, composer on games, but they never fully came together. But I still do a lot of sound effects for a studio called Soldak. So I still do sound effects for them, still do music, but I still do a lot of voiceovering stuff. So that has sort of become my night gig, if you will. A couple other things I ended up doing is I taught audio for games for 3 quarters, which was cool. Nice thing about teaching is it forces you to learn something much better than if you're just doing it yourself, because you don't want to look like an idiot in front of your students. I still manage to do that all the time, but maybe less than if I hadn't. My wife forced me to go back to college to get a bachelor's of elective studies, so I ended up graduating, had a baby, built a house. Now I'm finally building a studio, like a proper studio, and all these things swirled together and came together on June 29th, 2021. I was interviewed by Bradford Carlton for the Gamerpreneur, which was pretty cool.
God, it must have been a life-changing experience for you.
Absolutely. So yeah, so I'm hoping to make that a point eventually. That long sort of laundry list of stuff. But yeah, that's sort of my background.
Wonderful. I'll tell you, I got the gamerpreneur on my resume. Maybe you can put it on yours.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, Tori. I love it. We have a ton to talk about. Before we do that, though, I start every interview with a single question. So I'm going to ask you, just like I ask everybody else.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high, how weird are you, Tori?
I'm gonna go with a solid 7. Because so doing voiceovers, doing sound effects, I find myself talking to myself a lot of stuff, or like sort of imitating someone. So like watching TV, like, look here, just wait a minute. Sorry about that, folks. Just doing some weird voices, or just going like, just trying to imitate effects, or like knocking on something that looks kind of cool. So I think I could look pretty weird to some folks.
That sounds like a typical dad to me.
Yeah, that's true. That's coming so handy, because when I'm reading stories to my my wee babe, I like to hop into voices all the time, and it's a blast. And she's starting to do that stuff too, which is awesome. And she is totally going to be a gamer. Absolutely.
That's so wonderful. How old?
She is 2. And we're starting to play Lego City a little bit. Like, she tells me where to go. She's like, go swing, go coin. So yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
how precious.
Yeah.
Okay, Tori, this is the Gamerpreneur podcast, so I do need your gaming cred. When did you first start playing video games?
Okay, so I don't remember the year, but I do remember the very first video game that I think really kicked it off for me, and it was a game called Conan, and it was on an Apple IIe or something like that. This is monochrome. It was a black screen with green text on it. So look it up, and it won't look that interesting, but I remember just being completely captured by that. My first system was an Atari, and then moved on to the Nintendo after that. So it goes pretty far back. But yeah, I played back in the days where you had to pop in a disc to put in the operating system, pop it out, putting in another disc to play the game. So
the good old days.
Yeah, that's right.
It's almost as fun as the dial-up internet when someone rings the phone in the house.
Like, man, yeah. It's like, I want to play. Get off the phone. Yeah, totally. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so some people just won't understand what that's like. But man,
right?
We went through that.
Makes us feel a little bit old, just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you play today now, if anything, Tori?
All right, so most of the gaming I do takes place in mobile, because having a kid, and I have a day job, but at night I'm doing like voiceovers or some sound effects, or whatever. So I'm playing Idle Heroes on my phone, which is easy. It's kind of like stress relieving, because I know exactly the steps I go through. But I do play Hades right now. I am playing Hades. I'm trying to get all the achievements in it, so I play in like 15-minute bursts, like right before
that's all it takes to die, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah. So I only have 7 achievements to go. So I'm trying to get all of them. It's getting close.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Now this is a real tough one, Tori.
Okay.
If you had to pick one game as your all-time favorite, which one would it be?
Okay. So I'm going to break the rules maybe, but you ever seen the show the movie High Fidelity, or read the books or something like that? They're totally about top 5s. Can I do a top 5, or does it have to be a top game? Because it's going to be so hard. All right. So for the longest time, it was Planescape Torment, because it was like absolute best role playing. I also loved, I just can't pick. That's a hard time. Baldur's Gate, absolutely loved it. Zelda, Link to the Past. Skyrim with mods, totally different game with mods. It's in there because of the mods. And then The Witcher 3. So I just can't pick.
Is that 5?
Is it? I think so.
Maybe.
Yeah. So Planescape, Baldur's Gate series, Zelda, Skyrim, and The Witcher.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, all right. Let's move over to the entrepreneur part. That's enough gaming for now. Okay. So Tori, you've got a lot going on in your life. You've got your fingers in many different pies.
Yeah.
What would you say is your favorite thing that you do?
So right now it's really voice acting. That's what I really dig. If I had my druthers, I'd be able to do voices for games and animations too. And then I do like to like write my own music outside of game stuff, but I do still still do write compositions, like I said, for Soldak. And the nice thing is I'm able to bring in some of those influences I listed off. Like I'm able to use my tuba for some of the music, and bring in my guitar. But if everything went exactly right, I would love to just do to do game voiceovers because I love it. I love it.
Fantastic. Yeah. Now, this is really cool because you're actually doing something that you want to do. Yeah. Now, you might have fallen into it, but it sounds like you legitimately enjoy this. And as you know, most people don't do what they would love to do. What was special about you? How did you manage to pull this off, whereas so many other people have that dead-end day job that they're listening to the show going, man, if only I could be a voice actor too. How do I do what Tori does?
Well, so first off, just to be fair, I do have a day job, so this is my side gig. But luckily, I still get to do a game maybe once a week to once every 2 weeks or something like that. And most of these aren't big, massive AAA games. I've done a couple of those. Most of these are smaller games, but I think what really helps for me is instead of trying to be what maybe a game called for, I'm just kind of me. And then, I bring humor and stuff like that, and I like to improvise, but I've pulled from my past influences. So, like I do a lot of on-hold messaging for Spanish, and all that stuff sort of kind of propels me forward and it helps you network. But really, it's about being you, not trying to sound like someone else, not trying to sound cool. Like I don't have one of these really cool movie trailer voices. Sometimes I wish I did, but I don't. So it's really if you can get it. I know that this doesn't make a lot of sense, but if you can be authentic, like it's hard to be authentic. It's like, I don't know, but that's sort of the trick of it, is to be authentic, bring in all your influences. And it sets you apart from other people, and also just be easy to work with. That's
Can we dive into that a little bit more? Yeah. Because, obviously you're not doing your own voice every single time you do a voice, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Right. You have to go in a world every now and then, right? How do you decide that voice? You say it's authentic, but how do you decide to make the authentic in a world voice?
Well, that's a really good question. So, that will be a little deviation from the point. So there are some games where you end up not being able to do an authentic thing. But I think when you make a connection with like a customer or something like that, it's by being authentic, not just saying like, I'm this awesome guy, I've done some AAA games. It's just like, this is who I am. I think I can, be part of your game. It helps if you are really a gamer, because there's a lot of people that do voiceovers, but they don't play games, so they don't necessarily get the context. Because I'm going on a tangent here, but I think it's important, because gaming oftentimes has kind of a slightly stylized voiceover versus, say, movies or theaters, because you're putting yourself in these unreal situations. So you can't say, look, there's another dragon. You have to be like, look, a dragon, or something like that. Or, it's got to be a little bit more dramatic than maybe it would be in real life. But you have to walk that line, and you can't be too slow, because people are just going to click past the voice dialogue. So there's a lot of balancing that goes on. So I think people that are gamers and voice actors can come together and provide something a little bit more than someone who just does, say, animations can do. But being authentic, I think the biggest part is when you're first connecting with a client, is just being yourself, instead of trying to be all impressive. Saying you can do all these things, say, this is what I do well, and I think I can help out.
Okay,
so
beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, as a paying position, I'm assuming you're getting paid. I'm hoping you're getting paid.
Yes.
How do you do that? Is that contract? Is it per minute? Are you up on Fiverr? Can I hire you to do my commercial for me? Like, how does that work?
So here's what I got really lucky with, is that I ended up working with a lot of studios. So I don't audition very much anymore. They just say, hey, we know you've done this voice before, or you sound like this. We think you'd be a good fit for this character. So most of the jobs I do, they just send it to me and say, just record this. And then there'll be a little back and forth. Like, we want be a little bit more aggressive or pull it back a little bit. But I do still do, there's a site called Voice 123 for voice acting. They still post stuff from time to time. And I don't in any way make a living off that, but I tend to find new clients that way. And I'm lucky in that I'm able to get a lot of repeat clients. And again, I think it's just trying to be easy to work with, connect with people on a human level, just ask how they're doing every now and then. I think that's kind of been key. Yeah.
Love it. Okay. And how about your day job? What do you do?
So my day job, I'm a software tester for a medical company. And
so they're testing the devices on you, like so, your heart could just like
Oh no! Luckily, nothing with that high of responsibility. Basically, all health records. So we help.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm doing testing reports. However, I got in with the training department, so I'm able to do voiceovers for them every now and then too. So that's kind of fun.
Very
Um,
cool. So where do you
yeah.
want to take the voice acting then? Are you hoping to go like as high AAA as you can? Are you hoping to be like the next major anime character out there? What's your goal?
So I would like to. I, I would like to do AAA, but I'd still like to do the kind of the quirkier AAAs. Because one of the nice things about when I was full time doing my audio, I had to take a lot of gigs I didn't really enjoy. For example, like I won't go into that, but yeah. So um, I I'm lucky to be able to pick, and what I like to pick is kind of quirkier things where you're kind of more offbeat characters and you're going down different paths. It's not just like, I got my gun. All right, we're going out there. We're going to take him down. But, people that are having issues in their lives, that kind of stuff. I really enjoy doing that. And anything in horror, I'm in. Yeah, I love horror games.
Do you like doing the screaming? Like which part? Like
Just the tension and like knowing, because I think with horror games, you can sort of figure out how would you react in that situation. Um, just kind of the panic and then maybe a bit of the psychosis or something like that. Yeah,
I'll be right back.
that's exactly. No, you won't.
Okay. Now, Tori, say someone wanted to go into this field.
Yeah.
What exact steps do they need to take? I mean, I'm assuming they need equipment. Do they need to do practicing their vocal cords every day? Like, how do they do that? What resources do they turn to?
So I did it completely wrong, but so I can help you out in a couple things. Find a vocal teacher, and decide if you just, if there's a specific focus you want to go into, or you want to be more broad. Um, so if you just want to do video game voice acting, find a teacher that specializes in that. You may have to go through the internet, because like Minnesota, there's not much of a video game voice acting community. There's a lot of the gigs are on the coasts in the United States, and they're unions, so there's a limited amount that you'll get. But if you want to do commercials too, try to find yourself someone that can teach you those things, because you'll save yourself so much time and money that way too. You honestly, you don't need an amazing mic. You just need a mic that sounds good enough. You need a room that sounds good enough. For the longest time, I was recording it in a closet. So just I'd say join the IGDA, do game jams, just get your name out there by, being honest, but just being really excited about it. Excitement sells so many things. Be prepared for rejection. You'll get rejected all the time. I still do. And that's just part of the game. But there's a website called CCC, Creative Casting Club or something like that. But that's if you're amateur just getting into it, that's a good site to go to start getting some, trying to get into games. The other big thing I did when I was starting is I found games that I liked, either on IndieDB or like Steam, that were in early access, and say, I like this game. I love your game. I see you don't have any voiceovers. Here's an example of what I might sound like in your game. And you're showing the developer. I mean, again, you'll be rejected a lot, but you're showing the developer you're excited about their game and what value you can add. So that'd be a really good way to get into that too.
That's a fantastic suggestion right there. Now, the music, you said you incorporate your music both into sound effects and in riffs. Like, how does that play a part in your current angle, your current profession?
So I still write music for myself, as far as like sort of rock band kind of stuff. But the nice thing about working with this company called Soldac, and it's the only one I still do audio and like music for, because I don't have time to fit in anything else other than like voiceovers. Because sound effects and especially composing music take a long time. So luckily I'm so lucky that I have a really wide latitude that I'm able to kind of, I just usually write the pieces of music and send them over, and he's like, okay, it's going in the game. So I get really lucky, but I'm still trying to make him work. So for example, say we're doing combat music for an aquatic race. Well, it makes sense to that. So I sort of think about things about music. As I was vacationing a while back, I recorded a stream called Gooseberry Falls. It was in northern Minnesota, and I actually put that in the aquatic piece for the aquatic combat track, and just have it in the background just to give it a little color. So just trying to do that. I have an amphibian piece that I'm working on. I'm incorporating my tuba into it. So, because it just made sense as far as sort of a little more froggy sounding and putting an effect over it. But that's what, if you can pull from all your wide influences that make you who you are, you can make music that is who you are, and different than anybody else. You're not trying to sound like Hans Zimmer. He's going to do it way better than you because he's Hans Zimmer. But if you do a piece that's based on your things, it'll sound a little bit different, and people may enjoy that.
I love it. All right, Tori, let's get a little bit more personal if I can. All right.
Yes.
I want to hop in a time machine with you. We're going to go back in time. We're going to meet a little boy who had just moved to Bolivia. His name is Tori Kamal. All right. You're going to talk to Tori Kamal. You're going to go up to him. And you're going to be able to tell him all of the experiences that you get to have over your life, all the good, all the bad, all the ups, all the downs. You can impart upon him all of the knowledge and wisdom you've developed over the years, assuming you have any. And
not too much. Still learning.
But you're going to be able to tell him everything that's going to make his life bigger, badder, faster, more successful, however you define that.
Mm-hmm.
But if there was only one thing he absolutely had to know, what would that one thing be?
Be more organized. That's something I've struggled with all my life. And I always will struggle with it. But if you can find a way to be more organized, you save yourself a lot of time. And I know that sounds so simple, but it's so hard to do. And something I've been when I hear about it, it sounds so lame, but it's been kind of life-changing for me. So, for example, I've started using an app called ClickUp, which it operates kind of like Jira. In that it's sort of like project management, but like for this interview, I put, make sure that your camera's working right. Make sure your background looks okay. And I just check off these tasks as I go. Cause I have ADHD. So, I've recognized long ago, I have no memory. It's just going to be gone. So I get myself really organized with my tasks, and I'm able to sort of make that, perhaps weakness into a strength, because I know I need to be organized. So I get organized. But I think that would work for everybody. Because if you start putting all these things you need to do into one spot, you realize, first of all, you're probably doing way too many things. And second of all, it lets you focus by knowing what order you need to do things. So be organized, and you'll get a lot more done.
Beautiful. I love it. My company motto is actually organization is the enemy of sloth. So I love that point.
Perfect.
Okay. Even more personal now, Tori.
Yeah.
See, I actually believe that we learn the most in our life from our failures, not necessarily our successes. Because when you succeed the first time you try something, maybe luck. You don't know what happened, right? But if you fail, you got to take a look at it. You got to figure out what went wrong, iterate on it, move on until you finally succeed in the end. So I'd like to ask you, what do you consider your biggest failure in life, and what did you learn from it?
Oh man, there's been so dang many failures. I'll say I had the chance, when I went full time as audio, I had the chance to make that work, and I didn't, because I hadn't fully thought through everything that was needed to run a business. One of the small parts, but such a big part, was invoicing. Like, I didn't really do that. So I'm not saying invoicing was my failure. I'm just saying I did not fully think through everything. And I think if you're going to run a business, and especially gaming business, is a tough industry. Even if you're part of a AAA studio, it's a tough industry. You need to fully think through, sort of from the beginning to the end, what all the steps are, which kind of goes back to organization. Like, have how do you get into something? How do you do something? How do you get out of something and move on to the next thing? So my biggest failures have been not thinking things through all the way, just sort of jumping in and not knowing where to go next. So I've had tons of failures, but I like to think that I get knocked over the head each time and I learn at least one thing from them. So
right there with you. All right. Thank you for sharing that. Now, kind of on the flip side of that question, Tori, what is something that you're working to improve on yourself today?
So sorry, that sounds so boring, but organization, I still have such a hard time with it, but it's getting better. And it's I've started to accomplish a lot more things because I'm getting more organized. And when I'm more organized, it helps me collaborate better with people, helps me reach out, helps me network. So just sort of having a plan on how to get things done, where to get things done, who to talk to, what you need to do next. And then making sure when you have all these things, figuring out what you need to cut back on. So yeah, but I'm really working on being more organized and more efficient, and but still having fun. You gotta have fun.
Absolutely. Wonderful. All right, Tori, this has been a fantastic interview. Thank you so much. How do people find you? Where are you at on social, contact information, all that, please?
All right, sounds good. So I have a really weird name, Tori Kamal. So you can just email me at torikamal.com. I'm on the Twitters at Tori Kamal. So yeah, either way, just shoot me an email, send me a DM through Twitter. Believe it or not, I don't have a Facebook account. I'm one of those weird Luddites. So, but either of those are good. I'm super laid back. Just come talk to me. I'd love to work with you. Or if you just want some advice, shoot me an email. I'd love to help out whatever I can. I feel lucky.
Can you repeat your email? Because you said it's at torikamal.com. What comes before that?
Oh yeah. So the email, torikamal@gmail.com.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe I misheard you. I apologize.
No, I stutter through things all the time. So I probably
might have
messed that
been
up.
me.
No. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah.
All right. Beautiful. Tori, this has been fantastic. Do you have any final thoughts or anything I didn't ask you think we still need to cover before we wrap up?
I'm going to break the rules again, and I just needed to know, what is your favorite game?
So I have two. If I had to choose one, it's Chrono Trigger.
Oh my gosh, that's a good game.
The second one is Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars.
Oh, I've never played that one.
It's like nearly the best RPG ever made. It's as pure a Mario game as they could have made it, and it's got the Square RPG element. It's just so beautiful.
Oh, that's cool. I still have the SNES of the Chrono Trigger. I get, what a good game. That's a good game.
The thing is, they cannot make the sounds right on any emulation they've ever done. It drives me nuts. I get like, oh, cool, I got it. I can't listen to this.
Yeah. The nostalgia of those thumb pads too. Like it doesn't get better.
That's right. Tori, cool. Thank you so much. I genuinely appreciate you coming on with us today.
No, thank you so much for having me. This was awesome. I've never been interviewed like this before. So I'm super appreciative. So thank you.
Absolutely. You're welcome. And for everybody else, I'm going to remind you all, don't be just a gamer, be a gamerpreneur.